And this is Stacey McKibben with the Master Communicator Podcast, where CEOs, C-suites, senior VP level executives share their advice. It's 6 questions in 9 minutes because the best leaders share ideas concisely and quickly. So let's get to it. Question number 1. In a few sentences, tell me who you are and what you do.
I am Wendy Forkes, and I'm the CEO of Community Catalyst of California, which is a nonprofit organization that serves individuals with intellectual and developmental disabilities, as well as homeless veterans in California.
Wow, that's great. How long have you been doing that?
Well, I've been back with the organization for 9 months as the CEO, but professionally, I've been in this field for over 25 years.
Wow, that's awesome. So you're no newbie to this space then?
Nope, not at all.
That's great. So what would you say is the best thing? Question number 2. What would you say is the best thing about leading people?
For me, it's being able to see people achieve things that they didn't think they could do, and obviously to empower them to be able to do things that maybe they thought they couldn't do, or they thought they could do but weren't too sure. And so I always love seeing the success and getting that feel of energy from them when they do something that they're really excited and proud about.
I love hearing that perspective, because again, I think oftentimes the mark of a good leader is one where people voluntarily follow. And you'll often find that when it comes to when they're following leaders like yourself, who are really putting their needs first and identifying ways for them to get better. So I love hearing that. That's awesome.
Thank you.
Question number 3. I often hear from other leaders that business would be great if it weren't for all the people part, for all the people stuff. Tell me what you think about that.
I actually don't think there would be business without all the people. I love people, so I really think that businesses thrive when there are a lot of people and different types of people, because without that, you probably wouldn't be challenged to do some new, creative, innovative advances or ideas. So I honestly don't think there would be much business if it wasn't because of all the people. And I always like to take feedback and criticism and look at that as an opportunity for you to, grow or advance and maybe do some things a little differently, which oftentimes helps improve your business.
Absolutely. Oh, I love that. That's so great. Because again, I think when we try to avoid the communication and the conflict of the people part, you just miss out on so much, right? It's the whole idea of, giving up on love because you don't want to endure the heartache, right?
Right.
So that's great. Great insights. Question number 4. What other successful business leaders, like yourself, of course, should be on my podcast? Who else do you think should be here?
I would highly recommend Michelle Berkowitz. She is the CEO and founder of Connected Women of Influence, very dynamic. I also would recommend Xavier Serrano. He is the chairman of the Business Executives Council here in San Diego. A lot of great energy, great ideas, and doing a lot of innovative things in his business council. And then the third one would be Tony Giffen. If you haven't thought of her, she is the CEO for Goodwill San Diego.
That's great. Thank you. It's funny, I do 2 out of the 3. I love San Diego. It's such a small community. It's like the smallest, biggest community out there, right?
Right.
What piece of advice about communication would you give to other leaders?
I would say be very transparent, authentic, and the one thing that I really found to be successful for me was being open and willing to communicate with people in the manner and way that they are most comfortable and prefer, so that it's not about how I want them to communicate with me, but me matching how they want me to communicate with them.
Wow. Again, I mean, that whole idea of meeting them where they are, as opposed to expecting them to come up to your level. Again, these are very rare insights that you don't get to hear all the time, or you hear them, but you don't necessarily put them into play. And when I've known you a while, and so I know that that's something that you absolutely put into practice. So I love hearing that as a takeaway.
Thank you.
And then lastly, our magic question. tell us about your favorite boss or teacher. When you think about, people who have led or inspired you, who comes to the top of that list?
I actually thought long and hard about that. It's not a teacher, it's not a boss, it's my mom, because she taught me that I could do anything I wanted to do as long as I was willing to work for it. So I think that really set me up to have confidence and trying new things. But in regards to teachers and bosses, there have been many throughout my life. But what I would say is that each one has helped me kind of look at and see what strengths and weaknesses work in certain situations. And so I've tried to pull from each of those individuals their strengths and in certain situations to help me be more successful. I honestly don't know that I would say any of the leaders, whether they're good or bad, that I didn't learn something about. So for me, it would be hard to pick just one.
That's amazing. And again, it goes back to this idea of we can always learn from anybody. I think there's a great organization in town that talks about relationship arrogance and how, just never assume that you know what the other person can or can't do for you. Because oftentimes learning who not to be or what not to do is a big part of our growth process. So
absolutely.
That's beautiful. Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate you being on. How can people find out more about you, or where could they go to learn more about your organization?
They could definitely go on our webpage, which is communitycatalyst.org. And then also they could find me on LinkedIn, Wendy Forkas. And then we also have, Instagram and Facebook. And if you just type in Community Catalyst of California, they'll come up.
That's great. Awesome. Well, I'm sure some people will actually go out and do that and to learn a little bit more about you. So this is Stacey McKibben with the Master Communicator Podcast. For more insights and ideas, please go to www.concilioteam.com.